Hello, viewers. Welcome to Flick Companion. We're back with a special interview this time. His directional debut had won applause of the entire Telugu film industry. He then came on screen and continued the magic and mesmerized the audience with his acting. Without any further delay, let's welcome the multi talented director turned actor Tharun Bhascker. Let's start the interview. You won a lot of prizes in art from a very young age. Do you think it helps you in filmmaking?
Yes, art definitely helped me in filmmaking. There's no doubt. Filmmaking is just art on another canvas. Definitely, I discovered my love for filmmaking. Uh, in fact, I think I love art in general, and filmmaking is just another channel for that. Winning a lot of prizes in art definitely didn't help me in filmmaking. Winning prizes, art definitely helped me in filmmaking, but winning prizes in art actually taught me a lot about sportsmanship. As in, uh, I had won a lot and lost a lot as well. So every time I was disappointed to see the expressions of my parents, I was worried that they'd be disappointed in me. That caused a lot of trauma for me. To get over that took a lot of time. I mean, it's only when you participate in a lot of these events do you understand that wins and losses are just a part of the entire journey. Sometimes you win because somebody else likes the painting that you've done. The judges like the painting that you've done. Sometimes you lose because they probably don't like it as much, but you have a different perspective about your art form. So art can never be judged. Some people will like it, some people might not. For some people it might be the world. So what's important is to put yourself out there with utmost honesty and take pride in the work that you've done. The satisfaction that you get is immense. And that, I think, at a very early stage, I learned through winning a lot of prizes in art.
So, from when did the passion for movies begin?
The passion for movies began, I think, if I really, really, you know, really have to highlight an age when I actually found a passion for films was somewhere around my 12th grade when I was in HPS. Definitely, I used to love movies. They were a form of an escapism for me. I loved Maniratnam's films from a very, very early age. I remember watching Alaipayude, Maniratnam sir's film on a beach in Chennai. I mean, it was a drive-in theatre, not exactly a beach, but so I had very fond memories, and I remember films very vividly, even if I don't remember faces or events or anything. I remember films a lot. They made a profound impact on me. But I think consciously I discovered that I wanted to step forth in this direction in the 12th grade when I was making, when I discovered that I can shoot and edit and make a montage of videos from my experiences in school. My mother, she actually bought a camera for me. It was expensive for us then, and it was at a time when she was actually being tormented by a lot of people that you're spoiling the child, you're unnecessarily giving him expensive toys, he might misuse it. So when I heard about all this, I really didn't want to let my parents down, and that's why somehow I just went ahead and did this, discovered a new canvas for the art form that I really liked. Had a lot of fun, made a lot of nice videos with my friends and edited them. I still consider that to be the most shabbiest work that I've ever done, but I don't regret it at all because it was done without any effect in mind. I was just doing it because I wanted to do it, and I think that's how you discover passion.
Well, you come from a family of politics, doctors, and engineers, right? But what made you choose films?
I think in India everybody comes from a family of politics, doctors and engineers, but I had seen them closely. I'd seen doctors, I'd seen engineers, I'd seen politicians. Definitely everybody had their pros and cons, but that was not the life I wanted to have. Uh, Politicians, I had seen that, it was tireless social service. They had to balance out a lot of egos, relationships, and go out there and serve to the society relentlessly. I mean, we have a very negative impression about politicians, but I'd seen them up close, and it requires a lot of sacrifice. I mean, the quality of life that you lead is very different. It's completely a sacrifice, whether they know it or not. But yeah, obviously you get quite a good share of fame and power. But that was not something that I aspired for. Doctors had a huge amount of respect. At the same time, that's also an endless sacrifice to society. They had to go out there at any time, help people at the cost of their own uh, time and life. At the same time, engineers, I saw my dad, he had a different way he led his life. I really had, wanted to become an engineer. I really wanted to have that meticulous nature that he had of planning things and looking at life and everything. But when it came down to a routine, when it came down to a job, that was not somewhere I belonged to, because I easily get bored. I realized I easily get bored. And I still remember that it was not like a very conscious way where I sat down and I said I will be a filmmaker or something of that sort. I think I was very playful. I was still a child, and I still think I am a man child where I just do what I want to do. Sometimes that goes the wrong way, but at least I have the satisfaction that every day I'm living my life to the fullest according to my own choice. So, yeah, that's why I chose films.
And yeah, is it necessary to do a course in filmmaking before entering the field of cinema?
A lot of people might say that you do not need to study film before entering the field of cinema. A lot of people will say that you can just become an AD and walk in into cinema, but I think it is very necessary to understand the nuances of every craft, every department. It's very important to get into the shoes of every department. I'm talking about becoming a gaffer, an electrician, if you have to, an AC, assistant cameraman, assistant cinematographer, production design. You have to understand lensing. You have to understand blocking. You have to also act and see how it is to be in the actor's shoes so that you can communicate effectively. You have to sit with writers. You have to write. There are lots of crafts, and for the first and foremost thing, everybody's enamored by gear. They love to see how to get that image, and from there I think it generally starts. But you have to understand the nuances of everything, because when you are writing, especially here, because you have to be a writer director to get out there, I guess. You have to understand how it all translates into a visual medium, and to understand that effectively, to understand the motivation behind every choice, you have to understand the craft behind it. It's very important. Now, I know that there are a few quotes from famous directors in Hollywood that you have to just learn from films, and there are talented people that you can employ to get it all done. But that's Hollywood. Here the scenario is very different. Where you make films from, the scenario can be very different. Communication is key, and essentially if you know the craft better, it's always good, because you can direct the film in a way that you want it to go. What happens is, most of the times you might not get the technicians that you want to. You'll have to work with what you have. In that scenario, information is wealth, and the more you know, the more meticulous you are, the more detailed understanding of the craft is, the better your vision is on screen. So it's very important to learn filmmaking, and not necessarily from a school. It's basically a mindset. Learning has to become a mindset. You have to be open to any kind of articles, any kind of YouTube videos, probably master classes, or any courses that you can take online, any interaction with people from the industry who actually make sense. You know, networking is also abused. I mean, it's not abused. I mean, networking is also misunderstood. Networking doesn't mean meeting important people. Networking is also very crucial when it comes down to meeting people with a lot of experience that can be shared. Sometimes you might hear just a single line from a filmmaker that you like, that might help you a lot, which can probably give you a lot of courage in your journey. And I think all that is important before entering the field of cinema.
Well, your strength is your family and friends. Could you explain how important it is to have their support?
Family and friends, as in I'm right now, I don't like to compartmentalize it as two different things. For me, it's just one circle of trust that I have, pillar of strength that I have, pillars of strength that I have. These people, you have to have that, because I think that is the most important thing. Because filmmaking gives a lot of spotlight to you, gives you a lot of attention, and obviously you are going to get a lot of people trying to network with you, socialize with you. Probably they genuinely have a liking towards you, but the fact is that they don't know the real you, and the affection that they shower on you is an image that they have of you. So that's when you understand that it's not really deep. The love that you get from your fans or your admirers or whatever, in this industry especially, is not too deep. And if you start loving back that attention and forget the real people around you who probably yell at you, argue with you, who basically look at your faults and tell you this, it's easy for people in this situation to actually disregard true friends, cut off family ties, because they have a huge number of people loving them. But if you look deeper, that is very superficial love. And if you cut off all these ties, you will end up lonely, probably might spiral into depression. So it's very important to have a circle of friends who you can fight with, who can see your flaws, who probably abuse you no matter what, who treat you like a normal human being. Because fame is very temporary, everything else is very temporary. It's important to have these ties, learn from them, learn from your mistakes, have this circle of trust that you can bounce ideas off. So I was very happy, and I'm very fortunate to have parents who encouraged me in this direction. They took all the burden upon themselves. I've heard a lot of relatives scorn at them, saying that they're not bringing me up right. So they never brought it to my notice. They never put any pressure on me. Even if financially they were struggling, I've only seen it passively, but they've never come and told me that this is the only thing that we can afford or anything. And I also never asked them much. Similarly, friends. Every friend I've met in my life, I made sure that, I've always included them in my workspace as well. I've traveled along with them. Friends who shared similar passion are still working with me. So I believe this is my wealth more than the materialistic wealth. Definitely money is important, but this is very important because you use money to enjoy life with these people. If not these people, you don't need anything else, I guess.
What are the situations and ambience necessary for writing scripts?
The situations and ambience necessary for writing scripts is something that I'm still discovering, and it is an ongoing process to figure out the perfect and ideal situation and ambience to write a script. I keep talking to a lot of fellow directors as well. Each of them have their own space, and for every script they have a different space. A friend of mine, Bharat Kama, he goes to Kakinada to write. He says you have to go to the place where your story is set to see the locations for yourself and then immerse yourself into the story and write. But for me, that's scary because I think that in that perspective, I'm really putting myself into a box. It's very ironic, but traveling to the place where your location is set and then writing it puts you in a box for me personally, because you're supposed to stay isolated in a room to create a world of your own. That's when imagination runs wild. That's when you're unleashing true creativity. You can create worlds that do not exist out of pure boredom. Because I remember Martin Scorsese's interview where he says, he had a very boring childhood. He used to see Italian gangsters operate from his window, and then he wrote about that world. So you can just be locked up in a room and still imagine a world that never existed. So ideally, for myself, I would put a rule that I want to sit in the dingiest place, even the most uncomfortable place to write something. Because once you start getting used to going to trips or expensive exotic locations to write, you will start relying on it, and probably the situations might not let you travel certain times, just like this COVID pandemic or something. In that case, you're limiting you're imposing yourself, and you're not going to get anything creative out of it. So it's all a habit. So I feel you have to make it a habit to write wherever, whenever possible, and I'm still in that process of mastering it.
How does an idea of a story generally begin?
You can have anything can spark off an idea. A small event can spark off an idea. A weird character can spark off a story, or an object can spark off a story. Something you've heard can spark off the idea of a story. But that's just the beginning. When it comes down to the construct of a story, it is a very, very engineered process for me, at least. Because unfortunately, nobody wants to listen to a story without a conflict. Everybody likes conflict. Reality shows or stories or politics or sports, cricket matches for instance. You need to have escalating drama, you need to have conflict, you need to have a gratifying resolution. For us, we remember all memories in our lives as to how it started, how it escalated and how it ended. So there's a structure to the way we perceive stories, or we perceive life itself. So ideas can just spark off like that, but creating a story, finding a moral compass within that story, adding characters who are personifications of different tangents of the theme to come together and debate, using underlying metaphors in various structures of John Truby, Sid Field, Robert McKee, inciting incidents, all these 3-act, 4-act, 5-act structures, or organic way of storytelling, is definitely there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more to it, but anything can spark off an idea for sure.
Does language play an important role in films?
So language and dialogue is just one of the aspects of filmmaking. I feel that if you go outside to a tribal area and if you see a group of people talking in their language, even if you don't understand the nuances of what they're trying to communicate, or the details of what they're trying to communicate, you will still perceive uh, the emotion. You will understand what they're trying to uh, communicate. What are they trying to emote? Maybe are they angry? Are they docile, or are they sober? Are they going to attack you, or are they going to be welcoming? You just get a sense of things visually by just looking at their body language, by just seeing the way they move, seeing their expressions. So language definitely plays an important role. It has to communicate plot or develop character or whatever, but it's not the most important thing. And that's where a lot of films fall into this old meter, because they're still not evolved from the theatrics of stage dramas or whatever, because stage drama heavily relies on dialogue. Because it wasn't such a visual medium. You had to sit far away and all you had to rely on is the sound, what these guys are talking about, to understand the plot. But when you have an upscaled digital projection, a 4K projection of people's close-ups and wides and different kinds of shots, then what happens is cinematography plays a huge role, production design plays a huge role, the actor's body language plays a huge role. Definitely language and dialogue also play a huge role, but that's not the most important thing. I mean, using just language to steer the plot or to communicate the essence of the film is going to be very monotonous. It's going to be very, what do you say, redundant. It's not going to be exciting. You have to allow the audience to piece together a world that you create. You also have to involve their brain into piecing together information that you are giving them. And that's what makes it engaging. So language does play an important role, but only to talk about the culture, talk about the exposition of the world, where they come from, what they're doing. Adds another dimension of reality, should add another dimension of reality to that world, but not take away that from it.
So, which genre interests you?
I really love all kinds of genres. In fact, there have been there's been innovation in genres in the past last decade. Mockumentaries have come up, and even horror comedies have come up. So I think genres also are dynamic. I mean, they're more and more every year. So I'm just interested in any kind of good cinema, I guess. But if you ask me what genre specifically I've always liked, I've always leaned towards thriller, because I mean, it's edge of the seat. You're promised an exciting ride, and you're constantly put into this puzzle where you have to really connect the dots and come up with a solution even before the film ends. So yeah, it's very engaging. For me, thrillers, I absolutely love thrillers. I also love drama as well, dramedies or drama comedies or whatever, where it's inspired from real life. Yes.
So, what does success mean to you?
For me, success has been an ever-changing definition. As in, I define success very differently 10 years back, and now I define success very differently. So now, for now, I feel success is what I have, cherishing what I have. And I'm not saying that, it's about the money that I make or the number of films that I make, or it's not a number. I do not want to be in that rat race. Even though I say this, I'm constantly battling between running that rat race and pushing myself away from it, to be very honest. But at least I'm making a conscious effort now to to basically not be so agitated about my work. My work was my only source of satisfaction, but now I'm seeking other sources of happiness. Simple things like sitting down with my mother, having a conversation with her, taking a walk with my wife, or playing with the dog, chilling out with my friends. I think it's about creating that balance now. I am actually enjoying working out. I'm not worrying about my health anymore. I'm just going to balance it out. Every day, if I've taken a walk, or if I've worked out, or if I've eaten healthy food, I feel much better the next day. There's a sense of accomplishment. These things are actually giving me happiness, and obviously travel, researching stories, writing, directing. I think this is for me, I think I'm living a very happy, successful life. I'm very grateful to God and my parents, and especially myself, for working hard and getting myself here to this position.
How does it feel to have such a huge following?
To be honest, I feel great. I know that a lot of people mention that it's inspiring to see you travel, because a lot of them have seen me from my short film times, and a lot of them have seen me fail, a lot of them have seen me come back again, and they're very happy, they're genuinely happy, and I know that some of them are very genuinely inspired by the way I've come up in this field. But it's also a huge pressure. After Pellichupulu, there was a huge amount of pressure for me that, now I'll have to up the game. I have to really up my game. But I think I took a very smart and very sensible decision to do what I want to do, because then I realized that this pressure of this following also can be very destructive. So I've told in a lot of interviews that I'm not succumbing to that pressure at all. If I have received a following because I have done what I've liked to do, to always have followed my heart, to follow my gut, to live a happy life, if they have followed me because I've lived my life the way I want to, then I should never succumb to them or their pressures. The chatter really doesn't matter. I mean, outside a lot of people say a lot of things, but it shouldn't matter at all. You should just keep charting your own charting your own path, following your own destiny and goal. It feels great. It's a pat on the back to have a following, but the pressure of the following can also crush you. So I'll always stay at a distance, and I hope I lead a wonderful life, and they can take inspiration from it, and I can take inspiration from their lives as well.
Well, then, your advice to aspiring youngsters?
My advice to aspiring youngsters is to take all the drama in their life, or take all the negative things that have affected them, and use them as fuel to actually propel them in a direction where they are going to discover life, discover themselves through that life. Focus on something that really excites you, burn that night lamp as well, and continue to learn. Learning is a mindset, as I said before, and you should always have that mindset switched on. You should never stop learning. Keep your eyes and ears open for any kind of new information that can help you. Learn different languages because you understand culture. Meet different people. Dwell into the depth of their lives. So you empathize, you begin to empathize with the people around you. You do not see everything as black and white. When you start falling in love with humanity, uh, the hope that you create for yourself is a light for a lot of other people, and that reflects in your work, in whatever you do. Uh, Learn as much as possible. That's what I say.
It was very nice interacting with you, Tharun. I hope many aspiring directors and actors take inspiration from your journey. All the best for your future projects. Thank you.